All right. Good morning, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. What a morning. So cold, right? Hello, good morning. It was again so hard waking up, but in the end, we're here. So, to do a quick start, what do you remember from the previous week? What are some words and concepts that come to your mind? What have we done? We were starting to talk about using other people's ideas and to use them responsibly. We had some things to consider. Yeah, we did rephrasing. That's our practice for the second part of our course after the midterms. And what else? We looked into note taking, right? Where we talked about different tools and softwares and strategies of note taking, especially like the digital ones. And of course, this note taking was more about the note taking processes when you do a literature review or just before a literature review. And I have shown you like OneNote, Mendeley, and literature review metrics. And yeah, we did the paraphrasing and we had some notes regarding the use of AI. And then we did two other things. Do you remember those? Recording Sanotish, summarizing and translation. So we haven't focused much on translation and summarizing. However, we have seen a better, let's say, platform for translation that was DeepL. And if I'm not mistaken, I must have told you guys that summarizing and translation will not be our consideration in the final exam that much. And we have seen different ways to paraphrase. I'm taking a look at my notes and changing the word order, changing parts of the speech, changing the voice, like the active to passive, and using accurate synonyms, changing the linking words, and reducing wordiness, as well as generalizing and specifying and using reporting words. And you had some like several sentences that you paraphrased. And we started to look into the APA citations altogether. So I believe we had a document, right, that we worked on Google. So I'm trying to find that one. I couldn't. Anyway, if you can find that out, please send it to our chat so that we can take a quick look at it. So, on a scale from 1 to 10, how much do you like this weather? Personally, I would say 3. Oh, six. Is it snowing where you are? It will start snowing soon. Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, last night, yeah, it did. Very windy. All right, so I'll check the weather. If it's going to snow today, it doesn't look like so. Hopefully, because I will be on the road. All right. So, how many weeks do we have left for the finals? And to inform you guys again, unfortunately, I cannot decide the exam dates. They do it, and we don't have a say in it. We have 2 weeks. Oh, yeah, we have 2 weeks. What, we are in week 11? However, we must have missed a week, right? We missed a week due to, I don't know, some holiday. And yeah, we might have 2 weeks. You're right. Sure. As you know, I don't decide the dates. However, I requested um, one day off, official one day off for my other business at the university. For that reason, I have gotten my day off. I don't know it is during the finals, but mm, mm, mm. Let me check. Yeah, 30th of January on Friday, I will be off, so the exam will not be on that day. That's the like best I can give you. And like if you know the other dates of your other exams, that is highly unlikely, but that would be some info for you. And generally, they do my exams in like the first 3 days of the final weeks. However, of course, do not trust this info because everything might change. All right. So while we are at it, so we had a week off, it seems. So yeah, we're in week 11. And next week, we can do formatting when it comes to Word documents, like, for example, merging these two in a good manner, and like, or the fonts. Be careful, Arda. All right, cool. The fonts and like the everything regarding the formatting your paper. We'll learn about that. And then we'll finish it off with reviewing all topics. If we can, I do not promise because it's the student's responsibility to join and or watch all the recordings from like start from the first week. But if that's not the case, again, they could watch the last session. However, it will not help you that much if you haven't been in any of the sessions at all. And then if I have time to create a mock exam, and if I see it fit, I could do a mock exam. I do not promise it. And even if I do, um, the skills I could require from the actual final exam could be in the mock exam. However, the format and the content will be a lot different because like giving the absolute mock would enable most of the students are not coming or not watching the videos, and that result in the horrendous or like terrifically bad papers in front of me after the final exam. And I don't want to see those badly written exams at all. Okay. If you are cool so far, it's been 10 minutes, so we could start. Any questions? Let me set up my timer. Okay, if no questions, let's move on with this one. Unit 10, referencing. I hope you can see my screen. If that's the case, please say yes, and we'll continue. All right, so understanding referencing. So, misconduct, do you remember this word? Do you know what constituted this word in academia? If you cheat or if you do plagiarism, that would be academic misconduct, sorry. So assignment brief, I think we have covered it in week 2 or 3 or something. This is the task or the instruction your teachers give to you, and that should have all the details you may need for for completing your task, activity, homework, project, whatever that was given to you. Bibliography, it's a list of sources that contribute to the formation of the ideas in an essay, but were not directly used as evidence in the paper. So this is different from the reference list, and this is not used a lot. And if you are going to write a paper, your professors could ask a bibliography from you before, like mostly before the actual process is started. So you could list a few, maybe 5 or 6 different books or papers that you are going to read or that you have read, and you're giving the reference of it. And then give a really, really short, like 2 sentences uh, summary of it, and it shows your professor that you are going to deal with these sources, and that won't be in the exam. However, let me show you a bibliography example if I can find it. Yeah, here, this could be an example. Here's the reference, and here's the annotated part of it. It's called annotated bibliography. Since you have your notes here, however, that won't be your concern. And reference list, you know this, it's given at the end of the essay, provides very detailed, blah, blah, you know. So, this book says that Harvard referencing is the most commonly used style of referencing. I'm not really sure about that. But so far, I have seen APA being used the most, and we have used the APA style in this course. So we are going to continue with that. However, in your own fields, so far, have you seen any other referencing style being used? And we always have the option to transform an APA citation, let's say APA citation and references, to any other referencing style with the help of AI. And but I think it's a necessary for you to know at least one of these referencing styles, of course, depending on your, let's say, a field. What I mean by that is, if there's a sentence taken from another study and rephrased like this, and then you need to cite that, right? For this, you say, S2, 2010. So this goes for APA. However, in other styles, maybe sometimes you don't have the comma, and sometimes you don't have the surname and date, but the you only have a number and one or three. And in the reference list, the third resource cited is the actual paper, like all details here. So by style, that's what I meant. Okay. At the university, you'll be required to produce work in different forms, like in forms of presentations, essays, papers, projects, graduation theses, and some like those, they shouldn't only based on your own ideas. However, they should be backed up by research. So you'll undertake a further reading into your subject and get a range of sources that will help in the formation of your ideas. But you cannot take all the credit for these newly created ideas because some of the ideas you've used or some of the info that you have used are not yours. And you need to provide further details regarding where you collected this information that helped the formation of your new ideas. So to do this, like we should avoid plagiarism because it will be telling that you are committing an academic misconduct. Sorry. Okay. Academic misconduct can take many different forms, and here are some examples. Presenting the words of other people in your work without reference. And this can come from any source, including your peers. Using the exact works of others with a reference, but without placing the copied words inside the quotation marks. So, just because you give a citation doesn't mean that you have accurately gave a citation. It doesn't mean that. So if you are using the exact works from other studies, then you should have those quotation marks to tell the reader that those are not my words and those are the words of somebody else whose name given at the end of the sentence with the date and with the page number. The page number comes into play here because we don't have the quotation marks. Paraphrasing or summarizing an idea without providing references to the original source. Reusing your own work from previous assessments, and this is known as self-plagiarism. Have you done it before? I've heard people doing it. So you prepared a homework, a paper, a presentation, a project for a class, and for another class, another professor instructs you to give them another paper, but the topics are similar and you think you can use the same one in another course and you use it. And this is called self-plagiarism. Okay. Until very recently, artificial intelligence was hallucinating, especially when it comes to providing references. So, the researchers who have used AI in the making of their papers have cited the sources that are not actually there. So, providing references to sources that either do not exist or do not provide the idea or words you present in your work. And this is known as falsifying sources. So, you change others' ideas in your own paper, making it look like they have said something like that, while in fact, that was not the case. And this is what we call falsifying sources. Mhm. So, we do referencing because we want to demonstrate the understanding, we want to provide direction, and show appreciation or show respect to the author who have written that. Acknowledging where your ideas have come from shows that you respect the work of the others and want to give credit for their contribution. And highlighting your contributions. And yeah, actually, if you cite the parts that you've taken from other resources, it shows that the uncited parts in your essay are your own contributions, and those are, in a way, indirectly, they're also highlighted for your readers, telling them that this is a piece written by the author itself. It's his or her own ideas. So, um, why would we show a reference? Why would we do a reference? How does it help, or why is it preferred? Yeah, it shows trust, in a way, reliability, right? If you use other sources and it levels up your paper to another level, it shows that the sources you have used are reliable. What else? Yes, I had the same word on my mind. It is very, very professional. Yeah, other than what I've said. It's very professional. It makes your paper look very professional. And it also shows your character, right? In a way. That you respect, yes, that you respect other opinions, that you have read the literature, you comprehended the literature. Exactly, gives direction, right? So the other people who want to read more about the topic could check the references that you cited. What else? It also increases like the author's credibility for their upcoming papers, homeworks, and projects as well, right? There you set up a better portrait of yourself that you are contributing your own author self, let's say, and or student self. And when it comes to upcoming projects and everything, your professors at the uni will know for a fact that you do your research. Okay, should we reference everything? Yes, to avoid plagiarism, to protect ourselves, right? Even if the things that we have written and cited are not aligned with the professor's ideas, we actually distance ourselves from the statement made, and the responsibility is not on you, but the actual author of that resource. Then actually you protect yourself in a way. Oh, beautiful question, Rana. And if you are researching about a very specific topic, if you are writing about very specific topic, then it is okay. It's very acceptable to do this. So let me show you an example from my own studies, my recent one. It will come. So if I go to references here, maybe I haven't. I don't know. I haven't here. So if you are researching about very specific topic, and if you are contributing upon what you already have found, and if you are prolonging or extending your research, it is okay. But if you do that too much, even if when they are not very related. So, for example, if like in one research you are writing about Ottoman architecture, in another one you're writing about, I don't know, like the Baroque, and then you try to connect these two together just to give yourself a citation, then like you are increasing your citations. It looks good on the outside, but if somebody or some institution could really want to investigate that and see that you have self-plagiarized yourself a lot and in situations where unnecessary, then your credibility as an author would decrease and people would know you like that in academia, and then that would be a problem. Okay. And there are also metrics that shows how many times you have self-cited. And if it's too much, that's a huge problem. And there's also research rings, just for you to know. Like there are 3, 4, 10, I don't know, uh, friends who are very good with each other and they create a group. Each of them writes one research every year and adds the others' names to their research, and then you see that they are actually publishing works every year, which is something very good. But in fact, actually only one person inside that group is doing the work for 1 year, and then you get to publish for the upcoming years as well with the help of your friends, and they add your names onto the papers. And what is worse is that, or not worse, but what is what is equally bad is they also cite the previously written papers that their friend group has written, and then they actually escalate their carriers, their citations, their like everything, and that brings up more and more money. And yeah, and that happens in Turkey, India, China, Nigeria, Azerbaijan, like similar countries, academia-wise. So it's an academic in an academic paper, it's very rare that you'll be able to provide personal examples of your experiences. However, if sometimes you'll be required to write a reflective essay, and in these cases, you will not need to reference your own experience. However, if you'll be expected to relate your experience to an idea or a theory, but um, actually, I like mostly you are from language departments or engineering department and architecture, finance, etc. Like the personal experiences there will not really matter in the creation of a paper. Like you do not generally use those. So, your personal experiences, you don't need to reference those, and you will most probably will not write personal experience in an academic paper. But even if you do, you don't need to reference those. So common knowledge is like they cannot be referenced as well because you don't know who's the creator of that idea. Ideas that are commonly known do not need to be referenced in your paper. So can you give me an example of a common knowledge? Sometimes difficult to judge. Yeah. The concept of common knowledge will vary based on the factors. Yes, exactly. The boiling point of water is 100 degrees Celsius. However, this is sometimes difficult to judge based on location, educational background, and culture, and the subject you're studying. What else? Maybe like there are 7 continents in the world, and the sun rises from the east. Exactly. A day is 24 hours, of course, based on the accepted notion of time. Some examples of common knowledge are the name of a country's capital city, number of days in a week, etc. Like if you cite the things that are not that do not need citation, it would also decrease your credibility as the author. Do you agree, Cem Bekçi? Deniz Öncel, do you agree? Okay, thank you. Fatma Beren, do you agree? All right, so now let's take a look at styles of referencing. So there are different styles, and we go with APA. And what changes is this, like giving the citation and the lists. These two are the main components in a style, but you don't need to know anything else other than the APA for this course. Just give me a second, please. Okay, I had an ad popping out. So, reference list versus bibliographies. Like you should see in your assignment brief which one is required. If you see bibliography, you give the references as well as some notes on it. And reference list is the reference list as you know, reference lists that you know. Any questions so far? As a general, can you show us the other types of referencing real quick? So yeah, we can do that. So let's see if we can find an image here. Okay, this is good. Okay, as you can see here, in APA, if it is in the sentence and if it is in the narrative mode, you go like this. If it is in the parenthetical mode, it goes like this. You use the ampersand and you use comma before the date. And you do not use the page number unless you give the word for word quotation in quotation marks. When it comes to Harvard here, as you can see, there is no ampersand, and the remaining are the same here. And also in the reference list, it changes. So in APA, again, you use the ampersand, and the remaining are the same. And we don't use the location in APA anymore for the last 2, 3 years. And in Chicago, again, like at this time, you give the page number, even if you did not give the word for word in text quotation. So different styles are there. And do you know which style your field uses? Okay, which field were you from? Yeah, okay. So the thing is that most of the time your field will have certain referencing style. I've been in the field of English language teaching and education for the last uh, 7 or 8 years professionally, and I haven't seen any other uh, referencing style being used other than APA, except for one or two journals from, I don't know, Holland that used something other than APA. If your department if your field uses APA, you create your pieces with the use of APA, and you are not suggested to do any other thing than that. And now, of course, with the help of AI, we could turn any APA one into Chicago MLA or MAMA. Um, oh, you did it in APA. Perfect. Yeah, like I've seen APA being used the most, and it's like it's coming from the American Psychological Association. Okay. So when you are note taking, you need some information like the author's name, title, date of publication, or if you are taking word for word in-text quotation, direct quotations, you need the page number as well, right? Do you agree to this? Okay. So like even if you spend years in a single referencing style, there would be still some things that you wouldn't know or you forget. And actually, my friends, my fellow friends, my fellow researchers, and other professors in the field, like sometimes they may forget, they may not keep up with the recent updates. And of course, like the important thing here is to be able to look for the recent information online yourself. Because every time you write, then you need some other thing to know. For example, uh, I do my writing in English. The sources I cite, they are all English. However, when there's I don't know, French or Turkish source that I need to cite, the like given it in the reference list is different, and that is not very much known in the field. Like the more you spend time, the more you know, but that does not require you'll know it completely. For that case, starting to know other referencing styles wouldn't be very fruitful, ideally speaking. If your field already uses one, then we should go with it. All right. Addition, volume, issue, those should also be taken down as a note if you are going to reference those later on. So, it's not a difficult skill to master as there are many guides. And now today with the AI, like even if you have an idea that you have a hunch for that you believe it to be true, but you wanted to also prove it, then AI could do like the like I don't know what engineers call it, like tersine mühendislik, reverse engineering. You could do that in a way. Like you could write your sentence and ask AI to find you a resource for this. Then it finds you a resource. You go and read it, you understand it, and then you cite it for yourself this time. So, good times. Like we had the whole book on citation and referencing, but like most of the practices have changed with the advanced technology and AI. So we should be really careful and look for the modern ways of doing those after, of course, we understand the nitty-gritty, like the main essence of it. All right, it's 9 a.m. Time to close it up. So let's meet back in 10 or 15. What do you say? If we do all tens, then you could be you could be leaving earlier. Okay, you are in between two minds, so let's make it 12 and a half. So hope you meet you in 12 and a half. Bye bye for now. I am here for the next 2.5 minutes if you have any questions. Bye bye for now.